Leslie, welcome to Sweet Tea with Emily. Hello, hello.
Hi, Emily. So good to
You
be here.
you know that I've gotten way too casual and comfortable with you when I told you like a month or two ago I would send you the link like a couple days in advance. You got it like 10 minutes ago. I
We're
just
here. It's December. We're on the verge of Christmas and it's madness.
You can call Sarah Preble. I did the same thing to her last month. So just consider it to be like, I like you, I adore you, and I know you could jump into this with absolutely no prep.
Absolutely. And if anyone can't have a great conversation with you, Emily, then
Thank you. My husband would disagree at times. All right, Leslie. So I can't get started until I ask you, what can I get you to drink?
my new obsession is Olipop, and they have a ginger ale. I love the nostalgia of it. So I love Olipop, and ginger ale is my new favorite.
It's coming from an amazing marketing executive. I'm not surprised to hear that. Was it the packaging that sold you more than the drink inside, or both?
It's both. Like I love the nostalgia of it, and then I'm not a big soda person, but I love a little something sweet every once in a while, and the way that they market it, plus
Oh,
the good stuff that it does for you with the nostalgia of ginger ale. Right, you used to be sick as a kid, and your mom would put you on the couch with sherbet and ginger ale, and so all of that together just brings back childhood memories.
you had a much different upbringing than me. When I got sick, it was a little shot of Jack Daniels. That took me out just a little in my cup. So I didn't get the ginger ale situation. I got some good old Jack Daniels, and it
Maybe
worked
that's their next
every
flavor.
time. All right, Leslie. Um, Anyone that's watched these know that I always make my guests introduce themselves. So take it away.
So I am marketing by trade. I'm a data nerd. I lean into data. Data never lies. I love talking to consumers, talking to our retail partners, really listening to what they have to say and leaning in to those things. They're vitally important. Um, I'm a connector and advisor. I'm passionate about mentoring, especially women who are younger in their careers. As somebody who came up in her career starting in the 90s, and just love leading people, watching them grow and change, and being in a really dynamic market that grows and changes. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, you and I first met, we were at a networking event with a bunch of women at McKinsey. I think it was McKinsey,
Yes,
Bowers, women.
she's so
Um,
great.
oh my gosh, I know everyone wants to be like McKinsey. I'll be first
I
in line
do.
for that award or that honor. She's incredible, incredible connector, and so inclusive. Like everybody's invited. It doesn't matter who you are, your background. Like she wants people to be included, and I love that about her. But you and I were sitting in the back of like probably 200 people in the room, and in the middle of the presentation you told me a funny story and I lost it, Leslie. I laughed so loud that the rest of the evening everyone was coming up and saying, I want to know what happened, because that was the loudest outburst. And I just had to own it because it was hilarious.
Well, so maybe that should be part of my introduction too. Is I am funny. I
You
do
are
like to use humor
hilarious.
in everything I do.
You are so funny. Your Christmas card this year was so funny. Like you're such a thoughtful gift giver. Like there's you're such a good example, and I like your humor. I'm trying to do better with sarcasm humor, but you are just flat out funny and clever in your humor.
Well, thank
So, Leslie, other than just being totally, dynamic, taking over the marketing world, tell me what you're doing now. Like, where are you? What's happening in your world? Talk about what's going on in present day in your life.
present day. So I work for BGZ Brands. We have three consumer packaged goods brands, all different demographics, and we have a balance between D2C direct to consumer and retail. And anyone who works direct to consumer will tell you the economy is challenged right now, right? Consumer behavior is changing. And so I think from a marketing perspective, that's our biggest challenge, is connecting with the consumer, making sure that our value proposition is coming through clearly, because consumers are willing to spend money when the value proposition is clear, and then marketing the most important one or two items that's on packaging, that's on all of our messaging, and making sure that that message is singular. So staying ahead of a quickly changing landscape, I think is what we're leaning into these days. And it's not easy. It's continually changing. But again, talking to our retail partners and talking to our consumers and looking in real time at our reviews to see what our consumers are saying is helping us stay ahead of that.
Well, Leslie, you're the person in the room where if there is another company that's launching a product, particularly a small female entrepreneur, and she wants to know how to get her product like in Target, like you're the girl that will raise your hand and make those introductions and help. Like I think it's such an incredible gift that you're a marketing executive in the Utah community because you want to elevate particularly women entrepreneurs around you that have a product that's looking to kind of get into these big box like shops. How did you develop those connections and how are those how are those mentorship type of relationships going with introducing them to these bigger retail giants out there?
I think I'm a natural connector, and one of the things through the platform that Mackenzie has for women in Utah. So Utah has a really dynamic economy anyway, and a lot of entrepreneurs. That's one of the things I love about being here. There's tech, yes, and all kinds of different entrepreneurs and really innovative companies. And so being able to be around a lot of executives with completely different ideas and products is really cool. And then I'm a natural connector with ideas and people.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I hear somebody say, hey, I would love to meet this person, or I have a product that I would like to get into that. If I have experience doing it, I would love to help elevate other people. And so that's one of my passions.
You do that. I mean, recruiters, I don't want to like put this out there, but I'm going to. You have frequently referred amazing people over to me just because connecting is like very top of what you do. Um, and Leslie, I hope you get so much good karma from it. I hope it's helped come back around and elevate you in ways that you never imagined. Is that tell me, walk me down that situation as far as you always kind of being the giver, always the person introducing. You're always the one to be first in line with referring someone to me for a position. Like you are that person. What are some moments where you've seen that come full cycle, putting you completely on the spot here?
I think karma, um, or what you reap, you sow. I believe that, and that's not why I do it. I'm a natural connector, and I genuinely love people and helping them. But throughout my life, I've had those moments where kindness comes my way. This summer, like this is not a professional, this is more of a personal thing, but this summer, my boys and I were in Chicago, and they're huge baseball fans. And we went to a Cubs game, and we show up, and they're all in Cubs gear. And one of my sons, my oldest, was on a Cubs team. So he's like completely decked out in Cubs gear, and tickets aren't cheap. And we show up to the game, and Emily, we had purchased tickets for the day before. So we show up to the game, and there's people in our seats. Like they scanned us, and we were able to go in, and they escorted us to customer service. And my oldest son is like really emotional and a really kind-hearted kid. And the guy at the customer service desk was like, buddy, you're not going anywhere. We're going to fix it. And he upgraded our seats to just behind home plate. So we got to watch from the Richie Rich section. And it was like, not a direct like, hey, you give and other people give back, but really life gives back to you. And what a rich moment with my boys where things could have gone completely different, but
I
such
know,
a great
right?
memory.
I think that's, I mean, man, you're hitting on all the notes here with baseball community. But that's, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think my family is so into baseball is the going back to the nostalgia, going back to like making sure kids get an amazing experience, love of the game, and not just like the stadiums and the live games, which are amazing, but the fans, right? Like for the most part, you're always going to find good, and um, we're big baseball families. I love that you shared that story. Was it broadcasted live? Did you go back and find yourself on TV behind the plate?
You know what? We should go back and check that. We sent pictures because we have friends that are Cardinals fans, and it was Cubs Cardinals. So we sent pictures from behind home plate, and it was amazing. But I never thought to go check live TV. Now I'm going to do
Don't
that
worry.
tonight.
I think we have every Cubs game. We can find it. Please tell me they won that day.
They did. It was
Good,
really good,
good,
really good.
good, good. Um, I want to go back to something you said a few moments ago about like consumer product, behavior is changing and it's changing very rapidly. I am not in this space. Talk me through the change. Like, what are you trying to stay ahead of? Catch me up on what's happening in that environment, Leslie.
So you have a couple things. Consumers themselves, with the economy being challenged, consumers are being more careful with how they spend their money. Right now at holiday time means they purchased either early or late. And
I was
for
both this year. I get both, by the way. I started early, took a break, and then did a lot late. But usually I'm the early girl. So continue. But I
I'm
can check
I'm
both of
always early. I wrap
you.
everything the day after Thanksgiving because things get so busy with kids and school, and so I just enjoy a latte for Christmas. But consumers are at both ends of the spectrum and looking for deals. But consumers in general are leaning into value
Mhm.
and watching where they spend their money. More money on basics like groceries costs a lot more. Um, and then retailers are leaning more heavily into their own brands. Like Target owns, I think, $10 billion brands, their own brands. And so retailers are leaning into their own brands. And so the value proposition, the brand affinity, um, the way that consumers interact with a brand, the work that packaging does on shelf has to be even more effective on shelf. And retailers are playing it safer. And so our company is leaning into innovation where a lot of companies and brands are playing it safe. And I believe the economy is going to shift again in 9 months. And then we'll come out ahead because we've been innovating. We had a couple really major launches this year, really great products that are in consumer needs and in a product area that consumers want to see products. And so we're ahead of consumers coming out of this kind of haze of the economy. And when retailers are coming back out of playing it safe, we're ready.
Well, and I've watched some of your campaigns recently, right? You were really kind. Again, going back to your incredible gift giving, I think we were having lunch together, and I dropped my phone, and I had like a case, like some type of Kate Spade case, and you're like, "No, Emily, we got to protect your phone. Let's do better than this." And you dropped me some amazing phone cases and screen protectors. But I just saw a campaign not too long ago, and it really resonated with me because you and I are trying to do more of the experience type of like investment, right? Like I've got enough stuff. Like I'm getting joy on giving stuff away, taking it to the DI, decluttering. Besides all the, and I love giving. I love getting gifts. That's what me and my mom did all week was wrap gifts. But I really need to make more of a conscientious decision to go to more of an experience based type of spend. And sometimes you have to get ready for that. And you were telling me about, because I was like, what are some holiday traditions? So, Leslie, walk me through how you made that shift and what plans you have this year and coming years when it comes to like spending money on experiences.
I agree with you on being less of a consumer. I mean, as a marketer, I want people to be more consumers, but for
But
me,
you have to get ready for those experiences, right? And
yes,
like
yes,
the things that you consume have to like prepare you to enhance your experiences. So consumer plays such a thoughtful intertwine into that, right? I
yes.
just don't go to the home goods store and just buy stuff to clutter my shelves anymore. I did that in my 20s, right? Like I'm not doing that anymore. I want stuff in my home that is a memory or it's special or it means something or it reminds me of something like much more thoughtful, right? But if I'm gonna like prepare for an adventure, like yeah, I gotta get some things to go along with that.
Absolutely. This is our third year doing a trip instead of gifts for our kids. 3 years ago, my husband and I talked to our kids about we want to do an experience this year instead of gifts because our family doesn't live near us, and so the whole bottom part of our tree is already full of gifts without us giving them a single gift. And so we talked to our boys about it and asked them, tell me one thing Santa gave you. And they couldn't remember one from the year before. And so this is our third year doing a trip instead of gifts. And it's full of memories. We talk about each of those trips. And then on Christmas morning, when we wake up, we're going to be sitting on the beach and talk about what we loved from the year, what we're proud of, what our cheat codes are, right? How do we feel loved, and what do we want to accomplish next year? So it's just one of my favorite times of year.
Well, I think that might be us next year and future years. I've Jack will be 6 next year, and I don't think I'll have to ask his permission for the experiences, but I think he did it the right way with the transition, having your boys the ages that they were. But maybe that can just be a thing for us moving forward. Leslie, talk to me about that happens all the time in my office, by
Yeah,
the way, all the time. And I love it. I love sitting in the office in the dark. It's like my favorite thing because a lot of times people don't even think I'm in the office when it happens. So I love it, enjoy it, embrace it. Um, Talk to me about going back to mentorship and kind of like being really intentional with your time and where you spend your energy. Like, where are you at? What groups are you a part of? Who are you mentoring? Like, walk us through that scene.
I have been running a women's connect circle for about a dozen years through women in consumer tech. There's a place that you can connect if you're a woman in consumer tech. Utah has a number of places too. Mackenzie sends out a quarterly invite for women in any consumer products. And there's a new Women in Silicone Slopes chapter that has started. So please get involved in any of those. If you're not in Utah and you're not in consumer tech, just start Googling or create your own chapter. There's also leanin.org for women to discuss things as you're progressing in your career. That's where I get some of the content for my mentorship group. We meet on a monthly basis and go through um, different topics. I just love working with great women and watching them progress too, championing each other.
Who was your biggest champion? Where was your milestone type of event of someone that said, Leslie, you're going to be more than just a marketing specialist, you're going to be a marketing executive? Who helped you take that pivot and that step in that direction? or what moment or what experience? Maybe it wasn't a person. Tell me about that pivoting point.
I want to say there have been so many really, really great people throughout my career. Um, Probably 5 years ago, I read Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And if you haven't read it, it's so good. The idea is you say yes for a year. You
A
say
year.
a
I thought
year
it was a day, Leslie. A year?
for a
Holy
year
cow. I was convinced you were going to say a day. A
for
year.
for a year. I will
Stop.
send. I'm going to send you the book. Have you read it?
No.
Okay, I'm sending you the.
Like,
Oh,
did
you're
you?
not a book person. Can I audible you?
Yeah. Did you do this, by the
I
way?
did, and it was life changing.
And everything, like everything.
Well,
How
you say not like your cousin needs $15,000, and you're like, I'll write you a check, but on everything that moves you forward, you say yes. And so I literally finished reading it right before I went to the Consumer Electronics Show in January. And while I was at the Consumer Electronics Show, I was at a women's award ceremony for women in consumer tech. And then I get invited to a Russian ice bar where I get invited to speak in front of 150 presidents on how I use data to steer product and marketing. And I ended up in a CEO's book that year. Like wild, just by saying yes to everything that moves you forward. So life changing. I'm going to, you choose, you want the book or you want the audible, but
not audible for sure,
okay.
especially if it's said in a really cool accent. The audibles with the accents I always get.
Shonda Rhimes is incredible too. She's a screenwriter, and so it's such an easy read.
Okay. Okay. And you gave me such a great book. I actually have it on my desk. It's the Book of Awesomeness. And, I've been really open on like my LinkedIn channel, on my social media channels with the passing of my dad, just because I went MIA for a solid month almost. And, you know, um, you just open a page and it's like a really simple thing that you can just find like a moment of joy in sometimes when you are thinking about sad things. So you are the how many books do you read a month? What's your count on that?
I think I'm 25 this year, plus probably 50 podcasts.
Okay, yeah,
I'm insatiable with, I'm curious.
you are very curious. What book are you reading now?
I just started Joanna Gaines' The Stories We Tell.
You'll have to let me know.
Okay.
You'll have to
So
let me
good.
know. Okay. We've talked about books. We've talked about mentorship programs. We've talked about amazing things, holiday traditions, even, right, Leslie? Let's finish this off with kind of a future question. This will be our last one of the interview. What are you hoping to accomplish? What are you headed towards? What's the initiative, a goal, a dream? Tell me something.
I think for next year, it's rapid growth. I think the economy is coming back and leaning into all of the innovation that we've been um, putting out. And I think all the stars align next year with retail plus consumers being ready for it. And I'm excited. We've got it all ready to go.
Good. I love your optimism. I need that. We've been preparing that in the recruiting industry, right? Like a little bit of touch and go, two steps forward, one step back, but still growing, growing, growing. I love those aggressive takeoff growth years. There's a lot of recruiting companies that open up during those, and that's okay. There's enough business for all of us. But it's nice when there's kind of a little bit of a market shift because that gets rid of some noise in our space as well. So I'm ready for a really awesome, amazing, like triple growth digit year. So I'm ready. Thank you
It's
for that
coming.
prediction. If it doesn't happen, I'm doing this next year. I'm going to call you out on it. We're going to talk about it. Okay.
Let's do it. I think we've had too many tough years and people being separated with COVID and a haze coming out of that, and I think we're ready for it. I think the economy's coming back, and I'm an optimist by nature, so I think life's too short not to be optimistic.
That's right. You got nothing to lose by being optimistic.
Yeah,
Leslie, I adore you. Thank you so much for being my guest on Sweet Tea
so
with Emily.
good. I could talk to you for hours, Emily.
Oh my gosh. That's my biggest critique that I get from people that watch these. Emily, they're too long. And I'm like, but I have the best guest ever. And this really is just like an unfiltered hangout conversation with my friends. And sometimes I have 2 hour lunches. So guess what? I have really long interviews. I don't care.
I love it.
All right. But I will find an excuse to see you in person soon. Thank you so much for your time today.